and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and next week I've got a whole week off work, which would have been a perfect opportunity to fit the new ST170 engine to MOREDOOR, my MOREDOOR Mark II Escort. But because at the moment I'm keeping my head down and paying some bills, and because I haven't had my sump back from G19 Engineering, that's not going to be possible. Instead, I'm going to tackle a few little jobs that keep getting pushed to the back of the queue. We've also had some parts through the post to fix Winston, the plastic Fiesta's damaged wing mirror. So I'll be tackling that at some point during my week off as well. What I'm going to have a look at today though is the leak that seems to be coming from the brake master cylinder on MOREDOOR. It seems to be coming from the seal that goes between the reservoir and the master cylinder itself. And I've been on eBay and I've bought a seal kit. Now I'm not actually sure if this is the correct seal kit for the master cylinder that I've got fitted to MOREDOOR. The master cylinder is not the original one, it was just one that I bought when I wanted to delete the servo. Now these are the two seals that go between the reservoir and the master cylinder, and I think it's one of those that are leaking. Now when I was looking at the kits on eBay, definitely in terms of the seals that do go between the reservoir and the master cylinder, it seemed like all the kits either had two seals that look the same, like this, or two seals that look different. And when I was looking in the engine bay of MOREDOOR quite recently, I was able to look under the reservoir and I could clearly see that the two seals are the same. And they are this shape. So I'm hoping that even though this seal kit is probably not the correct one for my master cylinder, so some of these seals might not necessarily fit, I'm hoping that these two at least will. Yesterday I put some skinny wheels on the back with some budget tyres because the semi-slicks are getting quite close to the legal limit. I do seem to go through tyres quite quickly, I don't know why. Probably just bad luck, I suppose. So I just stopped at Screwfix. I was going to park in that car park, and when I was turning it round, you've got these folded down security posts, and I crashed into one of them. I've basically hit the cross member here where the steering rack's bolted to it. I can definitely feel more vibration through the steering now, so I'll have to have a proper look at it when I get to the garage. For those of you that don't know, Screwfix sell Sharpies. I only found that out the other day, and I just picked up some brake fluid and brake cleaner from Euro Car Parts. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit more vibration coming through the steering now, and it seems to be pulling to the right ever so slightly, so let's just hope she gets to the garage in one piece. Yeah, the steering seems to feel a lot sharper turning left than it does turning right. It's a little bit vague going right. Typical English weather strikes again. Got rain and hail, and I'm stuck in traffic, which is also quite typical for London. Round the garage then, and the weather has improved, which is good. Probably done me a favour being stuck in traffic when it was raining. Now before I have a look at the brake fluid leak from the master cylinder, I'm just going to have a closer look at the damage from our little accident earlier. So I've obviously hit the bollard directly on where the steering rack clamps to the cross member, and I can see that the rack mount itself is twisted. You can probably see that, it's bent here. Yeah, this bit was just a bit that I added when I needed to run a lower steering rack before. Having that bent has definitely put the alignment out. Now obviously, as much as I would have rather not crashed into that bollard earlier, as you can see, this cross member was actually cut out to make this sump fit a bit better. Since then, I've raised the engine up and I've lowered the cross member down with these spacers, which may have meant that I didn't need to cut the cross member out, but either way, it's just another reason why I don't think these sumps are fit for purpose. Now I'm hoping that the G19 sump will fit a bit better, and it will mean that I won't need to space the engine up or space the cross member down or cut the cross member. But I wanted to try the engine with the G19 sump on it first before I look into getting another cross member, just in case the cross member does need to be cut out for that sump as well. Now with this being a non-RS cross member, I think it does twist a little bit when it's under a lot of strain, like when you're drifting and stuff. So I was looking to get either this cross member or another cross member, if I don't end up needing the cutout, reinforced like the RS ones, or even better if it's possible. So, you know, I'm not that bothered that I've damaged this cross member because, you know, long term it wasn't really going to be staying on this car. There is a chance that the rack itself is damaged or bent. I don't know without taking it apart and having a look. But again, I don't think this steering rack will be staying long term either. This is a quick rack, which is 2.4 turns lock to lock, and it's already slightly too quick. It's a bit twitchy. And at some point, I'm looking to increase the lock on this car. And the way you do that is you have shorter steering arms, which is the bit that the track rod end bolts to. If that's shorter, it's closer to the pivot point of the strut, which basically gives you more lock. But that also gives the same effect as quickening the rack. So at that point, this rack is definitely going to be too quick. Now I have got a standard rack in my garage, and the plan was that eventually when I do gain lock on the car, I was going to try the standard rack, and then if that is not quick enough, then I can get a quick rack that's in between. I think you can get 2.7, 2.9 and the 2.4 that I've got fitted. Now the reason I haven't got extra lock on this car already is because with these struts that are fitted, they're just the standard 1.3 ESCORT front struts. These steering arms are actually cast into the strut, whereas on the RS struts and the Capri struts, these are actually bolt on. So you can literally just unbolt the steering arm from the strut and fit a pair of the aftermarket shorter ones. I'll just bang this bit of metal out of the way just so it doesn't rub when I'm going over speed bumps and that. So yeah, I'm happy that nothing's sort of broken to do with the steering after today's little accident. You know, it's just stuff that's bent and all stuff that I'm planning to change in the future anyway. So now let's have a look at this brake fluid leak. So where I think this is leaking is from the seal there that goes between this reservoir and the master cylinder itself. You can probably see moisture there now actually. You know, whenever sort of the rest of the master cylinder's dry, there's always still moisture there. So I reckon that's where it's coming from, unless the reservoir itself has got a crack in it. Now the first thing I'm going to need to do is to try and remove as much fluid from this as I can before I try and remove it from the master cylinder. So take the lid off. And I'm just going to use this syringe to get the fluid out. And then I'll just put it into this old brake fluid bottle. That brake fluid is absolutely minging. Right, so now that I've got all that I can out with the syringe, I'm just going to poke this rag in there and hopefully that will soak up some of the remains. And then I'll just cover it with a rag while I try and pull it off. If I pull on that, I can feel movement where that front seal is, the one that I suspect is leaking. I'm pretty sure this just pulls off. And there is the master cylinder without the reservoir fitted. As you can see, it's got two seals. I suspect this was the one that was leaking, and I've wiped it now, but when I first pulled the reservoir off, there was all fluid around this one, whereas this one was dry. And this is the one that felt like it had movement in it when I was pulling on the reservoir. The question now is, will the seals that I've bought actually fit this master cylinder? Well, at first glance, they do look similar. Right, it came out a lot easier than I was expecting. I don't know how tight these are. I've never rebuilt a master cylinder myself. This master cylinder was rebuilt professionally, probably about 3 years ago now, I think. And I think they bored it out and then they put like a stainless steel sleeve in there, and then obviously new seals. They certainly look similar in size. The new one's a bit taller, but I don't know if that'll matter. Yeah, the other one came out really easy as well. The new ones are a lot harder to get in. And that kind of fits good on there, even sort of clicked in. Alright, so I was having a measure with my calipers, which are broken, so they don't actually show anything on the screen, but if I set that to there, and I mean, there's loads of room there. So these old ones are considerably smaller. Now, annoyingly, the part number for this master cylinder is round this side. It's on the side of it here. So the only way I'm going to be able to read it is by taking the master cylinder off, which I don't really want to do. Which is why I thought it was worth taking a punt on a seal kit, just in case I get lucky and take it apart and manage to fix it. But it don't look like I'm going to be able to do that today. Here comes the rain again. Right, as an experiment, I've just put the rubbers onto the reservoir. I'm just going to try and press it into the master cylinder now. I'm pretty sure this ain't going to work, but I thought I'd try it. Yeah, there's absolutely no way. Don't know if I'll be able to show it on the camera, but even just looking at it with the rubbers on there, they're never going to go into that master cylinder. I just cleaned up the reservoir and it doesn't look like there's any cracks in it or anything. I don't think that's a crack because it looks like there's a seam all the way down. Yeah, so I'm going to have to put all this back together with the old seals and then bleed
the whole braking system. But before I do, I'm going to use the light on my phone and this mirror, which is broken. I'm not superstitious. I can actually read the number. Just got to read it upside down and back to front. Alright, so that is the part number on the side of my master cylinder, so I should definitely be able to get the correct seals now that I've got that. I come to bleed the brakes. I filled the reservoir up with brake fluid already, and then I realised that I ain't got my Easy Bleed kit at this garage. Beast.
Needs a bit of loving.
Is she going to get it, or is she getting sold?
No, I'll keep it for a little while.
Pump it up. Hold it down. That'll do. Gonna have to do it again when I get the right seal kit anyway.
Hello, so it's been over a week since the last clip, and since then I've been filming, editing and uploading the last video you would have seen on the channel. Also though, I've been in touch with a company called J&L Spares Limited, which are the company that actually refurbished my master cylinder about 3 years ago. The number that I managed to get off of the side of my master cylinder was absolutely useless in terms of figuring out which seal kit I need for my master cylinder, but when I sent a couple of pictures of the cylinder to J&L Spares Limited, they were able to identify it, and they've sent me a couple of those seals that go between the reservoir and the master cylinder. Not only that, but they sent them to me absolutely free, which I really appreciate.
These are the two seals that J&L Spares sent me last week, and when you compare them to the two that I tried to fit earlier on in this video, they definitely are not as tall, but in terms of the thickness, they look pretty much the same. So I'm not actually sure if these seals are going to be suitable, but there's only one way to find out, so I need to get that reservoir off. Alright, so one of the seals actually came out attached to the reservoir. This is the one that's actually leaking. I suppose now it's the moment of truth. Well, that pressed in there all right. Felt like it didn't really want to go on, so I'm just going to try a touch of grease. Alright, so I've got the reservoir on there. I think it was fully seating when I thought it wasn't, so I probably didn't need to use the grease, but now that the brake cleaner's fully evaporated, the master cylinder is completely dry, so I'm going to top the reservoir up now, and hopefully no fluid will come out of there. Alright, so I've topped the reservoir right up, because I need to bleed the whole braking system anyway. Like a numpty, I still haven't brought my Easy Bleed kit back round here, but my mate Fred's on his way round soon, so. So far, she's still dry. Alright, so an hour or more later, and it seems like it's still not leaking. I've just bled the brakes up with help from my assistant Fred. So yeah, I'll just monitor it over the next couple of days and hopefully it won't leak. A few days later, and the master cylinder is still nice and dry, and it's not leaking brake fluid. So that's 2 leaks fixed in 2 videos. Huge thanks again to J&L Spares Limited for sending me those seals. I really appreciate it. If any of you guys are in the market for rebuilding your master cylinder, definitely check out J&L Spares Limited. I'll leave a link to their website in the description of this video. If any of you out there have got a Mark II Escort cross member for sale, do get in touch via email or via social media. But other than that, if you did think this video is any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe and activate the notification bell to be kept right up to date with any other videos that I post in the future. Make sure you check out my Facebook and my Instagram, and I'll leave the links you need for that in the description, along with my email address for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.